The pair of Hoover Junior U1412's is, or are, done. How have they come out? How well do they work now? Just how terrible are they now I've dived inside and had them all apart? All those questions, and if you're lucky some more, may well be answered in this video. Have a look at how these two surprisingly different machines have turned out. Yes, hello my vacuum cleaner chums, me motley posse of suction cleaning enthusiasts. How are you today? These two very rare Hoover Juniors are completely refurbished and looking a heck of a lot better than when we first unboxed them. We have the one with the smashed hood. Bit of a shame about that. That is now one of the only things wrong with the other is the top cord hook, which I have done my bodge on and works well. The other one is this one here. Yes. One without the smashed, well, with only a very small crack in the front corner. Everything else is beautiful. Let's start by having a closer look at the one that is as mint as it's ever going to be. And we'll start off at the top because yes, this one has, look, its original top cord hook. Doesn't move, doesn't twist, it is fixed into place. It sort of wobbles, but I think that's where the two retaining pins sit. It doesn't turn, and I'm not going to try. Oh, so we have to take the cable off manually, the old-fashioned way. I think this top bit is actually also a cord hook. It sort of tries to hold the cable. This has the ever-ready fuse, ever-ready plug on it, very age-appropriate. I'll pop one of my cheap plastic cord hooks on, which really do make a lot of difference in storing these non-cord rewound machines. Moving down, but we'll take this off so I can show you it properly. The bag came up absolutely beautifully. They both did. I'll show you the other one in a minute. But yeah, these went through the washing machines and now they smell of comfort. Fabric softener. In fact, actually on this one we have to fit the bag that Mr. James very kindly supplied, since this is Mr. James's machine. So there we go. It is huge but does the job very nicely indeed. So we shall pop this back in here and sort of tuck it all in. This bag fits on the same way as the older Hoover Seniors and Juniors did, actually, with a cable tie through the bottom part there, securing it to this bag filled tube very nicely indeed. So one bag fitted. While this is off, we'll have a look at the bottom bit, which is really where all of the magic happened. I'll be honest, it's come up ever so nicely indeed. Does have some lovely gloss to it. Now it's a completely different shade to the other one. You probably saw that when I held them up into the intro, but this one is the darker blue, actually probably the same dark blue as used on the U1426, the actual turbo power junior one of these. This one is more of a lilac-y colour, more reminiscent of the U1436, the less common variant of the turbo power junior, and the whole machine is as well. We recline the pedal and I shall turn it upside down and point you down so you can see underneath it is the the definition of spotless now. The brush roll, this has the better brush roll on it, the one with the nice long bristles. There's a genuine Hoover belt hidden under there. The base plate isn't that worn. The whole thing is just lovely, really. Came up an absolute treat. This also has now the earlier turbo power motor in it. The motors are different. One had the black top housing, the other had the white, and the black ones are much more robust. They're just a better finish. So this one now has that. The hoods are so flimsy, you can see that's it screwed down. This has had a lot of hot glue under the hood to try and reinforce it so it didn't snap like the other one did. So both the screw posts are basically mummified in hot glue now. There is hot glue running all the way around the circumference of it to try and minimise any damage. That's why there's still the odd bit of paint, because it's so flimsy. I don't want to push down and crack it. The only bit of damage this had was in this corner, so that has been Q-bonded and hot glued all underneath. This whole thing has been basically smeared and second skinned. I had to fill in the hole a little bit there, but luckily Mr. James isn't going to abuse this machine. He's going to love it and treasure it and keep it forever. So let's have a look at the other one. And we'll stay in this position for now and we'll go in reverse. So this one, the writing sadly did fare better on this. On the other one, it started to wash off just by washing it. So I very quickly stopped that, taped it up, and didn't get any worse, thankfully. You can't tell unless you really know where to look. This one though has a few more scratches that I just could not get off. It's a bit fingerprinty now as well, because I've been holding it. A little bit annoying, but that's fine. Of course it's got its smashed up bits. Again, that's been glued up as best I could, but it's a lot more flimsy. That's why this has a lot more paint on it. This is the one that I'm keeping, and I decided I didn't really care about that, because on this side especially, it's so flimsy, it's just not worth the risk. This has had even more hot glue gun action because both of the screw posts were completely snapped off. So again, they've been fitted back on, and the whole thing has a lot of hot glue, just thick beads running around trying to strengthen it, and it's a bit better, but they're just so flimsy. They are flimsy, flimsy things. Underneath, well, it's fairly clean again. Obviously this one had the much heavier worn base plate. It's black on this one. The brush roll is the slightly less decent one. It's much more worn than the first one, so I have done my usual of making one impeccable one and then keeping the not so good one as a whole machine, because that's just what I do, really. Moving on up, mine obviously has the replacement metal top cord hook, which I hasten to add is probably stronger than the first one. I also can't take the bag off on this one because it's fed through the cable ties. It's not too bad actually. The green one goes through the two holes, and the big black one just helps clomp the whole thing together. The chances of finding an intact top handle part for one of these is as rare as me getting all my teeth replaced. So they're white, so there's no real point in caring about it. That is perfectly happy. This is actually the bag from the other machine, but the spring was stretched on it, so it is in here now. But the bag itself is as mint as the other one. I've already got pneumatic HEPA flow fitted, so da, 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 da. We won't bother opening that up because that is as good as it needs to be. I've got the, frankly, a more horrible plug. It's alright though, does the job. Mr. James has a thing about plugs, so I let him have the nicer one. And they're basically both done and ready to be switched on, and you'll be able to hear the difference in them purely just down to that motor difference. They both needed new bearings. This one, the decent one, the one that we unboxed in the second video, had fully seized, rusted up, horrible bearings in them. So they both got replaced in both machines. They've all got brand new agitator bearings. My one has a pattern belt. As you can see by ruining its own surprise, it works very, very well indeed. And amazing switches work. These aren't normal rocker switches with a cover on it. They are apparently the same used on the Power Glide. It's all hollow, and this whole bit does flick the inner part of the switch. But it is smooth. They're such weird things to use because they pull themselves up on the backward stroke. It is a little bit disconcerting. So there's Mr. James's. Let me show you Mr. Mine. Mine didn't turn on. Ooh. Mine is slightly quieter in operation, but has a much smoother wind down. Both of them do an alright job at trying to pull themselves forward, so they're not terrible. They are just so cheap, and again, I've heard so many stories about these, down to they were Hoover specials. Obviously this and the Sprite I think were much of the same, just with a different trunnion assembly. But I've heard they were Hoover specials, I've heard they were Hoover retail only ones. I've heard that they were used, or created, to use up surplus turbo power parts, which I find a little bit hard to believe, since A, the turbo power ran for years and years and years after these were made. B, there's so many bespoke parts on this, it seems a little bit silly. The one thing that myself and actually somebody who used to work for Hoover on one of the Facebook groups deduced, which I think is probably the more likely one, is that this was bought in as the cheap upright, you know, the from $59.99 one, because he remembers selling these new, and he didn't sell many because they were always taught to upsell. So these would have been upsold very easily, because the base spec turbo power would have been, you know, a tenner, 15 quid more, and you then got height control, might have got an air freshener, you'd have got, I think the optional toolkits still work on these as they do on the turbo powers. You've got a handle mounted switch, you've got a quick release cord hook, yeah, got a fair bit more for your money. So I think these were, because these would have run alongside the Power Glide, which was the Hoover's Billy basic no frill cylinder vacuum. So yeah, I think it just filled a hole. And then when the Turbo Power 2 came out, these are 91, the Turbo Power 2 would have started coming out in 92, 93. They just got rid of them completely and went to the Turbo Power being the base model, and the Turbo Power 2 being the mid-range, and then it all gets a bit confusing from there. So yes, these are very, very rare. I know of a couple of collectors who do have some, but that's it. I think I probably could count 5 that I know of for sure that are out in the wild. Plus now these two, Mr. James's and mine. So I'm going to put Mr. James's away so it doesn't get dirty, and then do a bit more cleaning with my one, which doesn't matter so much if it now gets dirty. one's developing the turbo power squeak already. But squeaky or non-squeaky, they're not bad. They do try, bless them. I mean, it still cleaned the floor perfectly fine. They are just unloved because, again, as somebody who unashamedly loves the Turbo Power series, they're just not a Turbo Power. They are a poor attempt at trying to fill a hole in the old range, and they just weren't very popular, which makes it actually all the more nice that I've seen these, and you know, I've had them, I've been able to refurbish them. They work so much better now, and Mr. James can have his. It's a childhood machine. One of his family members would have owned it when he was little, and I can tick another machine off of the 1991 range brochure that I either own or have owned. I own it at the minute. Who knows how long I will own it for. But yeah, everybody's happy. And you get to see two very, very, very rare machines here on my channel as usual. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. There will be a full refurb thread coming one day. I'm getting very lazy at writing those up. Really need to stop shooting videos and actually do some typing. But, meh, another day. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon for yet more dirty or clean air fun. Bye bye.